Welcome and hello from Alex, with a story from r/PettyRevenge, where a family takes a stand against deadnaming, sparking a name war with unexpected consequences. Coming up next is a story from Zendrique. I've been calling my sister by her full given name when she deadnames my niece. My brother's kid, 22 female, came out as trans on her 21st birthday about a year ago and changed her name from Lance to Lacey, fake names. Most of our family accepted it, and the ones who didn't weren't close anyway, except our sister Eva, 45 female. We are a Native American family with a lot of creative names, and my sister's birth name is something close to Evangeline, but she decided to go by Eva after a white kid said her name was rezzed out low class. Stereotypical name from an Indian reservation. She's insisted on Eva for about 35 years, and we all obliged. Now, she's regularly been calling my trans niece by her dead name Lance since she came out as trans, so I started calling her Evangeline, which she hates. The whole family caught on and have only been referring to her as Evangeline for about a year now, and she is furious every time she comes to family events. Recently, she's been calling me by my full first name to bother me. My first name is a portmanteau hyphenation of my mom's four sisters' name, something like Alexiana Dorothy but wackier. People have always called me Ad or Lexi, or my brother called me Dodo since he is a kid. I love my full first names, but it's cumbersome to use an 8-syllable name regularly. Well, my full name caught on with family and friends. Just to spite Evangeline, we have all reverted back to our full names instead of nicknames. Our dad is no longer Frank, he's Franklin. Our mom is no longer Roz, she is Rosalind. Brother is no longer Nate, he is Nathaniel. Sister-in-law is no longer Kate, she is Catherine, etc., all fake names. This has truly driven Evangeline away, which was the plan in the first place. Lacey makes for better company, so good riddance to one crappy sister. In my mind, this story showcases a powerful stance against discrimination within the family. While it may seem extreme to some, the actions taken by OP and their relatives highlight the importance of respecting individuals' identities, especially within close-knit family circles. Deadnaming and disrespecting someone's chosen name can be incredibly hurtful, and OP's retaliation, while unconventional, appears to have been effective in sending a strong message. Ultimately, it seems that the goal was to create a more inclusive and supportive environment for their trans niece, and in that regard, OP's actions could be seen as justified. Coming up next is a story from Dickabo. Watching my housemate die inside. This happened in my second year of university in the UK circa 1998. 6 of us shared a house with an even split of boys and girls. John was my best mate and was very shy and had no confidence with girls. He got on really well with the girls we lived with, Sarah in particular. When we moved in, Sarah had a boyfriend who thankfully after a few months she broke up as he was a dick. After this, Sarah and John grew closer, and she would quite often sit and cuddle with him while watching TV, dance with him when we were out, and generally spend a lot of time with him. John was clueless about women and thought they were just besties, but it was clear to everyone they were into each other. The important point to the story is John was still a virgin. Our other male housemate Steve was the opposite of John. He was a player. He had a girlfriend from school who was a few hours away at another uni, so he'd regularly sleep with anyone that would have him. He also had a crush on Sarah and tried it on with her a few times and got rejected. Steve used to take the mickey out of John for being a virgin. At first it was every so often, and then when John and Sarah were getting closer he started to call him Virgin Boy in an attempt to belittle him. The rest of us told him to knock it off, but he persisted for a few weeks. Not long after we got back from Christmas break, a few of us were in the living room after uni, and Steve walked in and asked me and Virgin Boy if we'd like to order pizza for dinner. Sarah walked in from the kitchen at that point, walked over to John, sat on his knee, kissed him, looked at Steve and said, "You can't call him that anymore. We had a great time this morning and he made me come several times. I doubt you've ever managed that with your tiny cock." The rest of us sat there trying to stifle laughter. Steve went bright red, mumbled something and went to his room. Turned out Sarah had made a move on John that morning. They both admitted to being into each other and had slept together. Sarah snapped when she heard Virgin Boy and decided she'd had enough of Steve. John and Sarah are still together, married with 3 kids. In my perspective, this story is a roller coaster of emotions. It's like a classic movie plot unfolding right before our eyes. OP's retaliation against Steve's bullying seems like something straight out of a revenge comedy. And the twist with Sarah standing up for John and revealing her true feelings adds a delightful touch of romance to the narrative. Overall, while OP's actions may seem drastic to some, the outcome is undeniably satisfying, with love triumphing over bullying in the end. Coming up next is a story from Sweet Speech 9054, and if you like the video so far, don't forget to like the video. It only takes a second and helps me out a lot. Karen neighbor complained. Now everyone has to suffer. Our Karen neighbor complained about another neighbor's motorcycle. It's a stock bike, so he didn't add any loud muffles, and prior to this he was very respectful. He would start the bike and drive conservatively out of the neighborhood. But then enters Karen. Karen complains about everything and everyone knows her. She has complained several times about the motorcycle and calls the cops frequently for dumb things. This time she decides to go too far and tries to prevent the motorcycle from leaving the neighborhood. She nearly ran him over. So now, because Karen literally tried to murder someone, the motorcycle rider starts his motorcycle a few times a day, rides to Karen's house a couple houses down, revs his engine for a few minutes, then speeds away in the most obnoxious way possible. He's even had some of his buddies come by in a sort of fuck you, Karen parade. I talked to him. We know each other and he's a decent dude, and he at least agrees to stop doing this at night and to ride safely since there are a lot of kids in the area. I honestly can't blame him at all because everybody hates this bitch and she deserves much worse considering what she did. I just wish there was a legal way to get her to stop being such a bitch. My reaction to this story is a mix of shock and amusement. It's like something out of a movie where the tables are turned on the antagonist in a satisfyingly petty way. OP's neighbor Karen seems like a real piece of work, and while the motorcycle rider's retaliation might seem extreme to some, given Karen's outrageous behavior, it's hard not to feel a sense of poetic justice. In my mind, it's a classic case of fight fire with fire, although I can't help but wonder if there might have been a more diplomatic solution. Nonetheless, given Karen's egregious actions, I can understand the desire for some form of retribution. Coming up next is a story from Tarzan Ismapani. Karen got her due at the grocery store. My 40 male, almost 4-year-old daughter loves grocery shopping with me, especially if we get one of those race car grocery carts. If it's a slow time at the store, I take her to the deli, where there is a wide open space in the corner, and spin a circle with the cart. She loves it. It usually gathers smiles in the rare case someone is nearby. Just a dad having fun with his daughter, right? Just yesterday, after doing a single spin, we went on our way when an older lady, I'd say early 70s, came towards us shaking her head and glaring at us. I gave her a perplexed look in response to her scowl, and she muttered something about having absolutely no respect for public spaces. I responded, "Sorry ma'am, I was just having fun with my child. Sorry to have offended you. Have a nice day." I thought that was that and was happy to move on, but she continued. Shame on you for teaching your child such poor manners. I taught my children how to behave in public. Me, clearly that's a lesson you didn't bother to learn yourself. I wonder how well they turned out. Muttered something about them being perfect. Me, almost 4-year-old, is extremely perceptive and sensitive and asked if she had done something wrong. I then explained as loud as I could. Me, absolutely not honey. That's just a very grumpy old bully. She Grilly responded, I am not grumpy. I just want to be left alone. Me, with my stern face, no. Well, you certainly are a bully then. And if you want to be left alone, I strongly suggest you start minding your own fucking business. You taught your children to behave in stores. I am teaching mine to stand up to bullies like you. Thank you for this perfect teaching moment. She finally caught the hint to shut her trap and moved along, still muttering and shaking her head. Petty revenge commences. Twice more we encountered her in the other aisles, and I made sure to overdo the race car theme, but would abruptly stop when we got near her, saying loudly to my daughter, "Careful now, honey. We don't want to anger the fun police." And my daughter played along perfectly. As fate would have it, we were approaching the checkout at nearly the same time. We got there first, but I magnanimously allowed her in front of us to be first in line at the solitary man checkout, knowing she would complain, and she did not disappoint. She immediately started to explain to the till person that she was harassed by me and my daughter this whole time and how we were disrupting the whole store. The till lady cautiously looked over at me and I just gave a totally confused shrug. I am still in my formal work clothes, suit and tie, and my daughter is wearing her adorable poofy fairy skirt, picture-perfect innocence. Having obviously seen me let the lady in front of us in line, the till person gave me an apologetic smile and just nodded and smiled, humoring Karen. She must have tried complaining further at customer services because we were now leaving at the same time. Despite our full grocery cart, a child insisting on helping with the bagging. Once outside, I made sure to drag race that cart past her as loud and as obnoxiously as I could, and my daughter squealed in delight. I didn't even bother looking back at that crusty old bitch. She ruined my shopping outing. I hope I ruined her entire day. I do feel bad for people that are this desperately miserable, but I also have zero patience for them taking it out on other people just trying to enjoy a sliver of joy in their day. I think if enough of us consistently confront people like this, they might just learn to keep their mouths shut and their poor attitudes to themselves. Wow, what a roller coaster of a grocery trip. OP's encounter with Karen is like a scene straight out of a comedy drama film. It's both infuriating and hilarious to see how Karen's unnecessary criticism leads to such a petty yet satisfying revenge. In my opinion, while OP's actions might be seen as extreme by some, they were justified given Karen's rude behavior. It's a reminder that standing up to bullies, no matter their age, is important, and sometimes a little bit of playful retaliation can go a long way in asserting one's boundaries. Coming up next is a story from Kumquat May. Insist that your kids have loads of sugary food and drink. How about you deal with them? Many moons ago, I used to help run a sports scheme for my local municipal area in my country during the school holidays. Kids aged 5 to 12 could come along. Their parents would pay a heavily subsidized small nominal fee and get a cool 4-hour sports session of soccer, basketball, tennis, etc. It ran very successfully and was really popular. Around halftime, there would be a break to get a drink and a snack. There was a little 7-Eleven style store just round the corner from the field, grass where we ran the scheme, so kids could get refreshments if they had money. We tended to walk everyone down there as there was a nice seating area outside the shop. Trouble was, the kids started buying the most sugary snacks, candy and drinks they could, and ended up hyper for the next hour, then have a sugar crash and be irritable little horrors for the final half hour. Magically, they'd all be fine about pickup time. To get round this, I banned the kids from buying anything sugary, and only savory snacks or fruit with water could be purchased. This lasted 2 days before the entitled parents of these little darlings complained to my boss that I wasn't letting their kids buy whatever the hell they wanted. I was told by my boss to just let them buy whatever they wanted again. Because apparently you're not their dentist, it doesn't matter what they buy. Fine, you want to play rough, let's do this. From then on, we didn't go to the shop at halftime. We went 45 minutes before the end. They had just enough time to get super annoying and hyper before it was home time. Then their parents had to deal with their sugar-derived carnage at home. I kept it that way till the end of the summer and felt so much delight at these entitled assholes having to deal with their own kids being awful day after day. The next summer, nobody complained when I went back to regulating their purchases at snack time. Win-win. OP's clever retaliation against entitled parents who insisted on loading their kids with sugary snacks is both satisfying and amusing. It's a great example of standing firm in the face of opposition and finding a creative solution to a problem. In my view, OP's actions were justified given the disruptive behavior caused by excessive sugar consumption. Sometimes, a little taste of their own medicine is the best way to drive home a point. That wraps up r/PettyRevenge. If you enjoyed this content, make sure to visit my Spotify channel, link is in the description, so you can listen to the best Reddit story while being outside, and remember to hit that subscribe button.